Hello and welcome to our channel. This time we will be presenting Santa Monica, a colorful and fun card drafting and set collection game in which you will have to create the most appealing oceanfront in Southern California. It is suitable for people over 14 and has a length of 35 to 40 minutes. Let's see what Santa Monica is about. In addition to the rulebook and the scorepad, we find 82 cards, 4 of which are reference cards and 6 starting tiles. There are also several meeples and tokens in this game. 1 starting player token, 30 tourist meeples, 30 locals and 8 VIPs. 28 footprint tokens, 1 foodie meeple, 1 food truck, 25 $1 tokens and 4 $1 multipliers. We also have 4 $1 tiles and 3 score objective tiles. Let's break down all the elements we may find on a feature card. On the left of the card, there will be placement actions. These actions are taken as soon as you place the card, and include rewards such as gaining some dollars, people, or moving previously placed meeples around your city. On the right, there will be scoring opportunities. These icons indicate how each card scores at the end of the game. Later, we will explain all the different types. Not all the cards have placement actions and/or scoring opportunities. Cards also have location tags. There are icons for local spots, tourist spots, businesses, sports, nature, and waves. They are used to gain points from your VIP at the end of the game. Some cards have drawn on them activity rings. To score the indicated points, you must fill the activity ring on the card with the right combination of people by the end of the game. But be careful, you cannot exceed the number of people indicated below the ring. What's more, any meeple not included in an activity ring is considered to be unplaced and might make you lose some points at the end of the game. First, shuffle the feature cards and deal out 2 rows of 4 cards each, face up. Place the remaining deck within all players' reach. Randomly choose and place 2 of the $1 tiles to the left of the display to use during the whole game. You should also randomly select one of the 3 scoring objective tiles and place it face up to the right of the display. The blue scoring objective tile is recommended for your first game. Place the locals, tourist, $1, $1 multipliers and footprint tokens in piles so that all players can reach them. The player who has most recently visited the beach becomes the starting player and gets a starting player token. Randomly draw starting feature tiles equal to the number of players and place them on the table. In reverse player order, beginning with the last player and moving counterclockwise, each player chooses a starting feature tile. Give each player their starting feature tiles bonuses. The last player in turn order places the food truck token under any of the 4 display columns of their choice. The foodie token begins 2 cards away. And we will be ready to start playing. The game begins with the starting player and moves clockwise around the table. On a player's turn, they will first have to decide whether to select one feature card from the display or use a $1 action using their $1. Obviously, during the first turn of the game, players won't be able to use a $1 action, since they won't have enough $1. If a player decides to select a feature card from the display, they must select one card from the front row and place it in their city. There are 2 types of cards. Beach cards have the ocean at the top and must be placed in the top row of your city. Street cards have a wooden boardwalk and a street in the lower part and should be placed in the lower row of your city. Feature cards must be placed with one of their sides adjacent to another card already placed in your city or with a starting feature tile. Therefore, the starting feature tile will also be divided into 2 areas. Cards cannot be placed diagonally or overlap another one. When placing a card in your city, you must check if it has any placement actions in order to perform them immediately. Some cards will give you meeples. You will have to draw the exact number and type of meeples from the supply and then place them on the specified card. In this example, the card gives the player 2 tourists. As we can see, they have been already placed on the card. You can also get $1. If that's the case, draw the number of $1 tokens indicated. In this example, the player will get a $1 for their feature card. Finally, cards can also allow you to move meeples. You will be able to move the specified number of meeples as many times as the card tells you. When it comes to moving your meeples, each card in your city counts as one space. Remember that the starting feature tiles are divided into two. If the meeple shown on the card is multicolored, it is wild, and it lets you move any of the meeples from your city. In this case, we can move 2 meeples up to 2 cards. What you cannot do is move the same meeple twice. You have to bear in mind that people cannot move diagonally. People can only move 2 cards you have in your city, therefore they cannot be moved to empty spaces. Be careful with activity rings. A meeple can be on that card, but outside the ring. You can place meeples in and out as you wish. With regard to the VIP, you will have to pay attention to the places they would like to visit. Your starting feature tile will show you which tags your green meeple wants to visit. Every time the VIP visits a card from your city that contains one of these tags, you will have to put a footprint token on it. Each tag you manage to visit during the game is worth a victory point at the end of the game. Later, we will see how to score them. When you draw a card, it may have the food truck, the foodie, or both below. The food truck allows you to take a sand dollar from the supply. The foodie to move any meeple one space around your city. And if the 2 meeples were there, it would be a happy day. You may take 1 sand dollar and move 1 person, or you may choose to double either action, taking 2 sand dollars or moving up 2 people by 1 space, or 1 person twice. When you gain a reward from the foodie or the food truck, the token will move 1 space to the right. If you are at the edge of the display, the movement wraps around and you place the token under the leftmost display card. If the feature card you selected was directly above both the foodie and the food truck, only move the food truck 2 spaces to the right. If you have sand dollars that you have gained on previous turns, you may spend them to use a sand dollar action. This replaces a normal card selection and may only be done once per turn. First, pay the sand dollar cost indicated on the tile, and then follow the action that is written on it. For example, this tile allows you to draw one of the cards from the back to place it in your city and to move up to 4 meeples 1 position. Remember that you will not be able to move the same meeple twice. In addition, we see that the card plays give us a local. When you use a sand dollar action to take a card that the foodie or the food truck is on, you don't gain their bonuses and they will not move. Once you have completed all your actions, if the front row has any empty spaces, you will have to fill them with the back row card immediately above them. Then, deal new cards from the feature deck into any blank spaces, starting with the front row cards. When a player places their 14th feature card, excluding the starting feature tile, it triggers the end of the game. Continue the round until the last player has finished their turn, at which point the game will end. Then, players will take the final movement on all of their people. Each tourist and VIP will be able to move 1 space, and the locals will be able to move up to 3 spaces. When all players are done moving their people, players will score their cities and determine the winner. First, we will score feature cards. The adjacency symbol shows 2 things, a location, sand dollar or person tag, and a point value. If there are 1 or more cards with this tag next to this card, you gain the number of points listed. Obviously, tags on the same card as the adjacency do not count. For example, this card shows an adjacency symbol that gives us 2 points if we have an adjacent card with a local spot tag. In this case, the card on the left does not meet this requirement, and neither do the one at the top or the one on the right. Therefore, we wouldn't score anything for this card. With this other card, we can score 2 points for an adjacency to a tourist spot and another 2 points for a card with a nature tag. In this case, we don't find any matching tags on the card on the left. In the card at the bottom, there is a nature tag, therefore we will score 2 points. And in the card on the right, there is a tourist spot, with which we will get another 2 points, obtaining a total of 4 points. Adjacencies do not stack, so if we had the following combination, there will be 2 cards with a tourist spot tag, the one on the right and the one below. But we will only get 2 points, not 4. For adjacencies of sand dollar or people, the scoring trigger is the symbol from the placement actions, not the physical pieces that can move around. There are also chains in the game. Like adjacencies, a chain symbol pictures a location tag inside a box with a number, and the number of points it is worth. If the card is in a chain of tags that meets or exceeds the number on the left, you get those points. In the example, we have a card that says that if we manage to have a chain of at least 3 cards containing a business tag, we will score 4 points. In this case, we see that we meet this requirement. With these 3 cards in a row, we will gain those 4 points. In addition, we have a 4th card in the chain, but it won't help us much since we will still score those 4 points. Having additional cards will be useful for continued chains. Sometimes the chains will have a continuous scoring condition. When this happens, you will gain the number of points per tag in the chain. However, if you fail to fulfill the minimum chain requirement, you won't score points. In this example, we have a continued chain that says that if we get at least 3 cards that have a sport tag, we will score 1 point for each of them. In this case, we managed to have 6 cards in a row with the required tag. As you can see, chains do not need to be in a straight line. They can weave around your city as long as each card in the chain is adjacent to at least another card with a tag. Therefore, in this case, we will score 6 points. However, if we had failed to fulfill the minimum chain requirement, we wouldn't have scored anything. Cards that have this symbol will give you points for groups of unspent sand dollars at the end of the game. In this example, the player has 5 sand dollars left. Since they get 1 point per 2 unspent sand dollars, they will score 2 points. This ability is a stack, therefore you can count your remaining sand dollars for each card that has this ability. Activity rings show a number of people and victory points. If, at the end of the game, the ring contains exactly the number of people required, you will score those points. The ring may only hold the pictured number of people, and no more. In this example, just by having a tourist inside the ring, we met the condition and we will get 3 points. If the icon is multicolored, then the ring can be filled by a local, a tourist, or a VIP. In this other example, the ring required 2 meeples and there is only 1 inside, so we don't score any points. Rings that feature the any number of people symbol must have at least 1 person to score. After that, you may place as many people as you like. However, it would always score the same number of points, regardless of the people inside the ring. Your starting tile will allow you to score on footprint tokens. For each card with a footprint token, count up the number of matching attributes on the card. You will get points for each attribute. In this case, the VIP will give you points for businesses and tourist spots. You will get 1 point for each tag. In the first card visited, we find the 2 types of tags, so we will score 2 points. In the following cards, there is a business tag, therefore we will only score 1 point for each card. The scoring objective tile is chosen during the initial setup of the game, so that players know them throughout the game. Each card includes a reward for waves, another one for a general goal, and a penalty for meeples that at the end of the game are not inside a ring. For example, with this scoring objective tile, we will get 2 points per wave in our longest group, 2 points for each card in our longest chain, and the player with the most meeples outside the rings would lose 4 points. The second one, 2 points. Players add up their score together. The player with the most victory points is the winner. In the event of a tie, the player with the most leftover sand dollars is the winner. If players are still tied, the player with the longest chain of tags is the winner. If still drawn, the player to write I win into sand is the winner. Santa Monica is an interesting set collection game. Although at first it may seem to be a little bit confusing due to all the different elements and names, you'll get used to it in the blink of an eye and discover that it is really easy to play. The fact that goals, rewards and actions are clearly indicated on the elements of the game helps players to follow the rules without affecting the pace of the game. The meeples and the cards have a very attractive design. They are very colorful and eye-catching. Luck plays a major role in the game. You depend a lot on the cards that are available and your objectives will vary accordingly. In addition, all players will have a unique objective specified on their starting tile. All these options, along with the general objectives, make the game change every time you play it. The scoring process can be a little bit difficult because you have to take many things into account, but the truth is that during the game it's not difficult to achieve those goals. Since players are not able to predict how they are going to place the cards in their cities at the beginning of the game, they will certainly need a large playing surface, especially in a 3 or 4 player game. What do you think about Santa Monica? We hope to read your comments, and if you have enjoyed watching our video, don't forget to like it. To be up to date with our latest videos, subscribe to the channel and click the bell. We will continue playing in the next video.